It's Mental Health Awareness Week, and I'm going to be posting a video every day this week to support you in an area of your mental health. My name's Natasha Welfare, I'm a mental health counsellor, and this is a short video about imposter syndrome. So, what is imposter syndrome? It's a pattern of behaviour where we doubt our accomplishments. So we feel a bit like we're winging it, or we don't quite know how we got this far. And it's also a constant fear that we're going to get found out. And that's where the idea of the imposter comes from. So we're going to get found out for being an imposter. We're going to get found out for being a fraud. Interestingly, with imposter syndrome, it really has very little to do with how successful we are or are not. Lots of enormously successful people have spoken about their imposter syndrome. Tom Hanks, Natalie Portman, Serena Williams, some big hitters in the business community, Sheryl Sandberg from Facebook and Arianna Huffington. They've all openly talked about the fact that they too suffer from imposter syndrome. So how does it show up in our lives, in our day-to-day lives? As a parent, if you're continually comparing yourself unfavourably to other parents and just beating yourself up, I'm not good enough, that person's a better mum than I am, look at all the good things that they're doing that I'm not doing. If we're running that script and we're discounting all of the things that we are doing well, we're not seeing any of those things, that's imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome shows up a lot at work. So if we've done really well in our career and we walk into a meeting and we just have that sinking feeling that we're not good enough, that we don't belong, how did I get here? Again, that's classic imposter syndrome. And I think a lot of our students and young people are suffering from imposter syndrome as well. There's so much comparison on social media. There's so much comparison through education. So that's something to be, mindful of, with young people, with teenagers, even with children at school. So where does it even come from? Why do we do this? Whilst each case, will be slightly different, I think it's fair to say that we've probably made a decision at some point in our childhood. It's okay for me to, exist, providing I get everything right. So there's a real sense of perfectionism here. And of course, in reality, it's impossible to be perfect and to get everything right. And so we just don't feel okay. We just don't feel good about ourselves. And we build up a whole life script around this. So in every scenario that we go into, these ideas are sort of further reinforced. Every time we don't get it perfect, or we think we don't get it perfect, we say, oh, I must try harder. I must do better. I'm just not good enough. Most importantly, what can we actually do about imposter syndrome? How can we change it? So I'm going to talk through 5 steps to, really challenge imposter syndrome. Step number 1 is awareness. We need to build some awareness around imposter syndrome. For example, when is it creeping up on us? When is it presenting? Is it in certain places? Is it around certain people? And we need to cultivate the ability to almost laugh at our imposter syndrome in a sense. So sort of detach from it a bit and sort of be able to say, that's my imposter syndrome again. So we don't over-identify with it. Stage number 2, we need to challenge the discounting. We need to challenge the distortions of reality that are taking place with imposter syndrome. So if you feel like, I shouldn't have got this promotion, what am I even doing in this job? Write down all of the things that you're good at. Write down all of the reasons that you did get the promotion, why you are in the position that you're in, because I guarantee that there will be so much that you have forgotten or that you're completely sort of out of awareness, ignoring in a sense. And also, I think with imposter syndrome, we put others on a pedestal. So it's a different type of discounting, isn't it? It's almost like we're diminishing ourselves and we're putting others up here on a pedestal somewhere. And my suggestion with that is just get to know people better. So if you've put your boss on a pedestal, and you sort of think, oh, I could never be as good as they are, they're so fabulous. Just get to know them. They will share the same insecurities, as you. They are, a fallible human being. So just, get to know them a little bit better, and then you can just even things out a little bit, even out those distortions. Step number three, get good at good enough. So what we're really talking about here is actually reframing our failures. So get rid of the word failure. Call it an experiment. Start to get more experimental. And, be a beginner again. Like, learn some new things. Know that it's okay to not always be at the absolute top of your game in everything that you do. Step 4, tell someone about your imposter syndrome. It might be really useful to have a little ally, a little partner in crime saying to you, you know what, you're being really tough on yourself there. Could that be your imposter syndrome? And step 5, and this is a really important one, accept compliments. People who suffer from imposter syndrome are very likely, when you give them a compliment, to just say, yes, but look at all these other things that I didn't do well. If that's you, if you recognise yourself in that, and you probably do it all the time without realising it, take a pause. This is where mindfulness comes in quite helpful. Take a mindful pause and simply say thank you. Accept the compliment. So I hope some of that is useful. I hope you are able to challenge your imposter syndrome and start, making some headway with that immediately.